Hey guys, what's going on? Bill here with another Borderlands 2 video, and today I'm going to be going over my Siren build. Now, I know on the different gaming forums, a lot of people are discussing whether or not the Siren is, viable using the Cataclysm Tree. A lot of people think that Sirens should just sit in the back and only use their phase lock to res people, and that's really not the case. I know the reason I picked a Siren was because I wanted to see stuff just melt. I wanted to light people on fire and melt robots, and that's what makes a Siren fun to me. So, I went Cataclysm as soon as I could start putting points in, and I will say it's a little bit harder to level up, but once you hit 31 and you can pick up Ruin, you just wreck everything from there on out. So, I'm going to go over my build real quick, give you an idea of what I went with and why I went with that, and then, we'll go fight a couple things and show you how it works in action. So, first off, you got Flicker. And this is one of your bread and butter skills. You have to have this. Even without the extra class mod points, Flicker's going to give you 30%, and these values are additive. So let's say you get 30% from Flicker. Badass ranks, I get roughly another 7%, and then on class mods you get anywhere from 20 to 30%. And then you have your gun percentage. And when you add all that up, especially late game, you're looking at anywhere from 70 up to close to 100% chance for your elemental effects to trigger, and it's just a beautiful thing. When you shoot your gun, and almost every time you shoot a bullet, you're gonna light something on fire or corrode that badass loader that's attacking you. It just makes the game that much more fun and that much more rewarding. Moving on, we got Foresight. It's another one of those core skills. You got to get it. Increase magazine size, increase reload speed. There's no downside to this skill. And especially when you look at the dynamics of phase lock, if you put something up in your phase lock and it's up there for, say, 5 seconds, the last thing you want to happen is you empty a clip into it, and then you're stuck reloading, and then by the time your gun's reloaded, the thing's out of phase lock, and you can't just drill it with bullets anymore. So, Foresight always helps. Now, just these two alone will get you down to the 3rd tier, so I'm going to go over why I skipped these 3 skills real quick. Immolate, honestly, I think it's a waste of a skill. Yeah, you get to add fire damage, but you never know what you're going to be fighting. And if you're fighting something that's immune to fire, which there are quite a few enemies that are, then you just basically wasted 5 skill points, so didn't see that one as being worth it. And Backdraft is a similar situation. Compared to the first Borderlands, where you were just running around phase walking, hitting stuff with melee and exploding out with fiery explosions, and that was awesome with Lilith. But Maya doesn't really have the same melee capacity. You can free stuff in place, but you don't have that stealth, you don't have that giant explosion, and I felt that Backdraft was just, it wasn't a viable enough solution for me to decide to go with it, so I also skipped that. Now, Chain Reaction I don't have right now, but during leveling it's a great skill. Max skill you're at 40%, so you can basically phase lock that badass loader or the badass skag or whatever you're fighting, drill it full of bullets, and meanwhile your bullets are going to ricochet and hit every other enemy around it. So it's a great skill for leveling up. Late game I decided to drop it because a lot of the enemies that you're fighting you can't keep in a phase lock, so I didn't find it as useful, but regardless it's also an excellent choice. So moving on to Helios, the reason I went with Helios is Ruin already is going to provide you with slag, corrosion, and electricity, and Helios just adds to the package. Why not give it fire damage? And another nice thing about this is against enemies that you can't actually phase lock, like say a constructor or some of the different bosses that you're going to fight, this ability is still going to proc. So if I see a constructor and I try to phase lock it, even though it's not going up in my nice little bubble, that fire explosion's still going to go off. Like I've seen it just wipe out the little surveyors that fly around the constructor, which is, everyone hates those things, so it's always nice. Who wouldn't want to add another element to, their phase lock? So, moving on, dropped a point into Cloud Kill. A lot of people skip this skill, I don't see why. A lot of the times this is going to be useful as big bosses and whatnot. You start shooting and you basically just get a free corrosive that's just ticking on it full time. And it's 1 point, I don't really see a reason to pass this up. It's free damage basically. Reaper, outright, it's just a great skill to have. Most of the time when you're fighting stuff, by the time it gets the 50% mark, it's just going to finish burning or melting from there, which is what really makes this shine. Because basically, on most enemies, you're going to start shooting. By the time they hit 50%, they're just going to, your elements are going to finish them off. So Reaper's going to make every one of those fights go faster. And on the boss fights, you're pretty much just looking at a flat 40% more damage for half the fight. I mean, why you would skip it, I don't know. No downside. Now, Blight Phoenix I did a lot of testing with. I went back and forth deciding whether or not it was worth it, because similar to Backdraft, you have to basically be within melee range for this ability to really, see the benefits of it. And finally, I decided to use it as my progression to get to Ruin. And I mean, it doesn't see that much play, but there are uses for it. I mean, specifically in regards to the weaker mobs. Anytime you run up against like the little bully mongs or Varkids or anything that's, even surveyors, the enemies that are small, annoying, like the racks, they're flying down, they're hitting you in the back of the head, and they just piss you off, and you're just like, man, why don't I have, where's my commando that should be next to me with a turret to shoot these damn things? Well, that's where Blight Phoenix comes in, because pretty much this annoying little Varkin just runs up to you, and it just dies, because you're like, oh, just melt. So, in regards to that, it's nice. So we dropped 4 points to progress up to Ruin, and Ruin is where shit really gets nice. I mean, like I said, it's hard to level Cataclysm up until you get Ruin, but once you get this skill, everything basically becomes your bitch. Because you're going to slag enemies, which effectively doubles the damage output you can do against them. You're going to electrocute them, so anything that has a shield, well, it can say goodbye to the shield. And then it's going to slap some corrosion on top of it. I mean, awesome, awesome skill. And even against bosses that are immune to phase lock, similar to Helios, when you phase lock something that won't actually go up in the bubble, all these effects will still proc. So you're still going to see the Helios explosion, you're still going to electrocute him, you're going to slag him, you're going to corrode him. I mean, it's just an awesome skill. So moving over, we got Ward. And the reason I started going a little bit defensive was, especially when you get into True Vault Hunter mode, or New Game Plus, you'll see the difficulty really ramps up. And this is where I hit the point where I was thinking, well, do I want shield survivability, or do I want health survivability? And the way I built my Siren, I said, well, shield, you can dip behind cover, you'll shield will heal back up. Whereas your health, I feel like I'll lose health a lot faster than I lose a shield, so I decided to go with Ward. I mean, obviously I got some extra points in it from the class mod, so it gets pretty crazy, but either way, it's a nice defensive tool. And then Accelerate, another one of those core skills that's just nice to have. I mean, there's no downside to having more damage and have your bullets faster. There just isn't. You can't argue it. And then the final point I have in here is Converge. And the nice thing about Converge, when you combine it with Ruin, is Ruin on its own is going to hit everything, I think, in, I'll say, a 2 to 3 yard radius around the target that you phase lock. Well, Converge is going to take everything in like a 15 yard radius, and it's going to yank it all towards that target. Now, your Helios might not hit everything, but basically when you phase lock something, it's going to yank everything over, similar to a Singularity Grenade. And then towards the end of your phase lock, when the electricity and the corrosion effects go off, those will end up hitting everything that you yanked over. So, I mean, Converge and Ruin, they go together. They just work great. And I still have 8 points left, and the reason for this is, there's some flexibility. Obviously, you can move some points around. And the biggest thing about that is you never know what your class mod's going to support. So, you take this build and then say, all right, well, what's my class mod buffing? In my case, it's giving me 4 to Sweet Release and Mind's Eye, which, I didn't really use them while leveling up, but, if I have to only drop 1 point and they're going to go up to 5 out of 5 and 5 out of 5, there's really no downside to that. So, play to your class mods, even if it's a skill that you might not use, as long as it's not like, all the way down here or something where you have to, deviate from a specific build to get to it. Make sure you actually utilize your class mods, because it's just free points. So 6 points left. Suspension's a nice skill, but same thing. It's only going to you're going to see the effects of it against something like a badass. Keep something up in the air for an extra 2.5 seconds. It's useful, but, especially with Ruin, once you're slagged, you're going to die anyway, so don't worry about that. Between these two, I'd probably go with Inertia, I think, just because I love Inertia. Now, and both of these are nice skills to have. While leveling up, I have both of these maxed. And Inertia, another 50% reload speed. That's awesome. That gets your SMGs reloaded in like half a second. And Kinetic Reflection is a really nice one to have while leveling up. But, same as Chain Reaction, late game, I'm fighting a lot of things that don't have guns, so I'm not going to be going with it, because, against something like Terramorphous, it's not going to help me, because I can't deflect giant laser beams that are coming out of his tentacles. But so now we got all our skill points set. You know, let's we're gonna go somewhere, see what we can do. And another quick siren tip. I know a lot of people have found out if you tip Moxie enough money, she'll give you some nice guns. You know, Miss Moxie's good touch and Miss Moxie's bad touch. And one of the things about these guns that a lot of people don't know is, I mean, not only do they scale with your level, so you can, you know, tip her at level 50 and get one at level 50, do the same thing when you're leveling up, 30, 35, 40, whatever the case is. But these guns also have built-in health steal, which, you know, late game, especially with all the stuff I already have to get my shield up, you know, having a little something that's going to get my health up too, it's just, you know, it's welcome. Why not? Why not get my shield and my health up at the same time? So we're going to look for somewhere to go where we can fight a bunch of stuff. Let's do Cauldron. Everything there is level 50 or above, so this will give you a good idea of how the build works. Another nice thing I'd say is if you don't already, find a rocket launcher. I mean, for my loadout, I like to, you know, I have all elements at my disposal. I got fire on the SMG, got corrosion on the shotgun, I got a sniper rifle that I absolutely love with plenty of slag damage. And then finally, you just find the heaviest hitting rocket launcher you can, and you keep it around. Because sooner or later, you're going to go down, you're not going to be able to really see something, and that rocket just blasting something in the face is usually going to be what gets you up. So we're just going to jump down here into the middle of Sawtooth Cauldron, see if we can't find a couple bad guys to group up. There's only 2 do ruin. Way across.
Another one down!
Bullets and everything is just stuff melting, exploding. This is where that rocket comes into play. What's this? You think I'm gonna die? No, we're not gonna die. There's this guy in the face. These nomads are just such dicks. Let's get this thing reloaded. Look out. More stuff over to it. You can really see the torch. One shot, the rest of the health just gets taken down. Here you can see how, you know, I missed my good touch. Going straight up with it. I actually just found out about that the other day. I don't know if it's been recorded on the YouTube or anything yet, but I'll tell you what, having a gun that just has built-in life leech and a ton of fire damage, it's like every siren's wet dream. I mean, why would you not want something like that? You know, you've already got tons of stuff to get your shield up. Might as well heal and get your shield up. So, you know, we'll phase like this guy. You can see way back.
So it goes.
There. If you have singularity grenades, they just make it even more fun. You can just keep everything grouped up in nice, well-knit bundles, and then you just kill them at your own disposal. They're all grouped up.
Critical.
I mean, it's really just. I don't know why people think sirens can't play offensively, but I'll tell you what. I think running around and just melting everything's face.
Shut up!
Look at that. Just the phase lock alone brought that guy almost dead. Level 50 mob. Basically died from just the phase lock. Probably would if we let him take a little bit longer, but I'm not trying to go down. I'm staring at this dude while everything else wants to shoot at me. Rocket launcher, same thing. Oh, it's gold every time. You think you're about to die, and the rocket just saves the day. Same thing.
Stop.
Everybody gets pulled up. And that's the great thing about fire. There'll be times when you're playing Cataclysm where you'll shoot somebody, you know, you'll go down, and then the guy that you were shooting, like, you instantly res because people are moving on so fast, you know, the burn damage is just making them basically burn out, that you go down, and a second later, you look right back up. I mean, just look at this tick. Look at that. Just a couple shots, at least. Look at that, he died all on his own. Took like 3 bullets. Reaper did his job, pumped some damage into him. From there, from the half-hour point. Just let him lay down. Get another phase lock up. Get some more guys towards the mountain. Goes on and on from there. So, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. You know, as I mentioned, you know, well, clearly as you can see, Cataclysm is definitely a viable spec for sirens. You know, hopefully you guys can try out this spec and you have fun with it yourselves. And we'll catch you guys next time.